Okay, so here is a follow-up video to the last one where I introduced some of the lesser perfect tools. And we're gonna do, it's amazing. I mean, if you follow me on Instagram, you see I take pictures of clouds all the time. And I'm kind of cool to see that a lot of you guys like clouds too. So the last post I had with clouds, a lot of reactions. So I thought, hey, it'll be fun to show like a little demonstration of from beginning to end of doing silly effects like clouds and using the old beat up brush and all the toothbrush and all that stuff that I showed in the previous video, the B team video. So let's get started. We'll go with, I did just a quickie little sketch, an imitation of Andy's original clouds that he did for Batman. And yeah, it's not an Andy Kubert original, but since I already inked that one, I'm just doing kind of like a fake recreation. And if you want, I'll post the original pencils, Andy's original pencils, and the final product that was published for Batman. And so, okay, enough talking. Let's go. We're gonna do some silly clouds, and it's going to be some dry brushy and some solid blacks, and I'm just using my old beat up brush that is a Raphael that originally looked like this. What I did was I just cut that part off just because I wanted like a thicker grip. Cut that part off and drill a hole in this holder, and fit that right in there. And I've been using it for all kinds of stuff. So okay, yeah, and I'm going to start with just, we're just gonna do, we're just gonna fill in blacks, and I can just blop it in. So we're just gonna go, I'm gonna lift this up so I don't get ink all over my table. And in doing, because there's large blackout areas, I guess I didn't have to do that, but I'm just gonna do like beginning to end. So we're gonna start with, and oh, the paper's already starting to curve. So you can go roughly. And you can load that brush up nicely, and this is where like the dry brush will begin. So as the brush is drying out, you can use it. It comes in very handy for like effects like clouds like this, because you can do, I dipped because I wanted to fill, but you can do all your little dry brush effect on, like angle it to the side and just drag it through, and it'll just kind of like, and do all your little cloudy curves. And we're gonna come back in with whites and flick a few soft and chunkier whites through the clouds to kind of mimic, I don't know, just like dust or debris or just mist, or just to kind of make it fun and interesting. So with clouds, you're gonna get a mixture of solid and some dry brush faded. You're gonna have layers, and just, you don't have to be perfect, so you can do lumpy, leave little gaps too, as like natural clouds will have. The silver linings. Happy little clouds. So sky. So we're just gonna, I could have done this ahead of time, I suppose, but I thought it would be kind of fun to just do a video where we go from start to finish, and maybe I can answer some questions that you guys had posted, or talk about a few things. Like I've mentioned it before, that even if you work traditionally, digital, you have all kinds of layers. Traditionally, you also think in layers. So what we want is to see, this is, well, far away, closer to the viewer. So we're going to try to finish this, and finish it in a way that that's going to be demonstrated, and that is, maybe it's like darker clouds there, you see less detail. So as it's coming towards the viewer, maybe fades out a little bit. And obviously, you can say that if you're like viewing from the ground, the clouds kind of fade, obviously thicker higher up, especially if it's kind of moody. So work in layers, and right now we can just say this is like the first layer. Layers in many ways. So as in, like, we'll kind of demonstrate like a depth thing, as well as like different layers of like clouds. Like clouds often exist in many forms, and I am so sorry, I do not know all the names of cloud formations. So if any of you out there know, or are a lot more informed than I am in this area, feel free to discuss, because they're really cool, kind of fun. So, yep. So we're doing just a whole bunch of little big chunky round curves, and like I said, this is going to be like, it doesn't have to be perfect, just make sure you kind of follow a flow, and it's kind of like, and we're going to do a whole bunch of other stuff on top of it. So the first layer, just roughly, you can kind of like identify different chunks. Maybe this guy is in front of this guy, so we can kind of keep that in mind as we're inking, like what's in front of what, so we can come back in later on. So it's going to be layers, and I'll show you how we can make it look like this is in front of that and all that. So, and we're going to go, and again, some solid, some not so. And again, a beat up brush, which is naturally pretty dry. Even if you have it loaded with ink, it will give you that dry brush effect. And if you have textured paper, I'm actually just using cheap paper here, so that's why it's bending and curving so much. But if you have, if you want to do a lot of texture, and if you're using brush, you can use rougher paper. That will assist in that quite a bit. And but the only thing with rough paper is that when you're penciling, I do believe that it's kind of like more of a pain. It's like it wears on your hand quite a bit more, because it takes more pressure. So here we go, and I hope I'm still on camera. So this is still like, so I'm leaving like a bunch of little white gaps, again, for the silver linings. Who doesn't need those? And you can make them as, and it's okay if it's like more solid, because we're going to come back in and do more with whiteouts, so with whites, and you can do kind of mimic a few, and we're going to get a grade for some of these areas, and I'm going to come in and do that too. And we're going to use more dull tools, like which I didn't bring up last time, are like if you have dried out Rapido liners, if it still has ink in it and I haven't used it for a while, it will do kind of like a skippy thing, which I believe will be very similar to the old razor blade effect, where they use razor blades to kind of cut through the paper for like rain or stuff like that. So I'm gonna try to stay on camera here, but I'm sure occasionally I'll kind of wander off, but I'll make my way back, guys. Okay, and more happy clouds, and we can make it like thinner, like it's gonna be more grays and more lighter clouds fading down here, and it's gonna break up a little bit as it gets closer to this way. So we can say, okay, that's our first layer, and I mean, have fun with it. You can just go in and if you want define more stuff, but for now I think, well, that's good. And of course, it's always helpful if you're an experienced inker, you'll know we often, lefties, you guys have different thing that you're doing, but righties will start from usually like top left corner and work away from the ink, so you have time for all that stuff to dry. You'll still smudge, but that's where you learn how to correct like smudges and fix, do little repairs. And what I often do is I will always have like a copy of the pencils. That way if I mess up or if something goes a little, little cuckoo, I have pencils to, for reference, and I can do corrections or make sure I stay on track. And if I'm experimenting a little, I don't lose what the penciler is trying to do, because you can totally like get a little crazy and go all out. So I'm now just kind of coming back in and doing more. Now the brush is really dry, so see how like crazy it is right now? I don't really care because it's an old beat up brush, and that's perfect for this because you can still like get good dry brush and you don't have to worry about ruining a nice brand new brush that you need, perfect tips for. So as is, you have just your generic cloud shapes, and I need to stop inking it because I need them to dry. So while that's drying, I should rinse out my brush. It's an old beat up one, so it's fine. So the other thing that I didn't, well, I guess I won't cover it now either. I'm still here, guys. Okay, the other thing that you probably have seen other inkers do is like we sometimes wear little sleeves. You can get like, I don't know, they probably sell it, but I just use like old sleeves from old sweatshirt or a sweater, or sometimes, like little arm warmers that are on sale. And they come in handy, and this is why I use it anyway, so I assume other inkers use it for the same reason, is like you're gonna like, if you have like a full comic book page, you're gonna be moving the page around, you're gonna have your hands and your arms rubbing over like the pencils quite a bit, especially if you're working on originals. This, for me, especially if you live in kind of a humid place, or it's warm summer, or if you have like oil on your skin or sweat, and it helps to glide over the page a lot easier too. So you're keeping all that, all that body oil off the page, and any kind of like, funky sweat that makes it all weird. So this is just to kind of make it easier for you to like glide and not get and mess up the pencils. So okay, little side little side note for extra miscellaneous tools that inkers might use. Little silly sleeves. Okay, so that is pretty much dry, and we're gonna do, so we're going to grab another. This is actually an old micron, and it's kind of dried out too. So again, use it till this baby drops. So these are, it would be faster if I were to use brush for a lot of this line work. So we're going to do, so gray tones, and we're just going to go ahead and use, for speed, we're going to use the brush for this. And again, the line's going to break up a little bit. You're going to get some dry. And I'm going to go kind of fast because I don't want this video to be like 3 hours long. And again, because we're working with clouds, it's kind of, you know, oh, oops. You kind of almost, you don't really want like perfect solid because they're vapors. I mean, water vapors. They're clouds. It's not solid. So just doing some, am I on the screen? Okay, so you can do that. And the nice thing is that they can be a little curvy. If anything, you can even do a little wavy because clouds flow freely. So you can break it up, wavy. You can do like layers of transition too. Okay, so that's doing it with brush. Just because it's faster right now. And you can do also, like, as your brush is drying out, you can do this and you'll have like a dry brush line work. And of course it's not gonna dry right now. It's not dry brush just because I said it would. So we can go like wavy. Am I still on? Okay, so wavy, make it flow into flow. And have it fade out. So I did that with brush, but what I started doing was, okay, I was showing you the micron. I don't know how dry out this is because I haven't even played with it yet. I just know that it was sitting here for a while. So what you want to do is grab any old pen or micron and you can do the line work with it. And it's not going to be perfect. It's going to be, you know, like I said, a little skippy. And just do your, and it's okay if you kind of want it to skip and fade because that is the effect that you want. And have fun with it. And this is going to be like a fade that is going to be behind this mass, this cloud body formation. And you can just kind of fade it out and thin out. So again, adding to that depth and layer thing. And you can start down here so this is the one that's in front of this one. So you can, if you want to, you can vary like the distance in the line work too. You can go closer, it fades into the darker part. It's going to be very forgiving. You can make it flow into that. Flow is part of that as it's breaking up. Part of that guy. And you can do so a lot of it is just about making sure that it flows and try to be relaxed with your lines and not so tight and restricted, because that helps with the flow. So just go. And if you want lines to kind of like follow the other one in parallel, just as you're doing this, eyes on the above, the line above, parallel line, not on the one that you're drawing. So if you want one to follow that one, just have your eyes follow that line. Okay, and then there, and then it'll fade because this new chunk of cloud. So you can kind of have like a fading, free-flowing. Clouds are a mixture of all kinds of wonderful density. Okay, this is gonna be, okay, we can say it is, and there'll be some, you can leave some whites because like I said, silver linings. So you can, the only thing is micron, this is an OH, so as thick as it is and as dry as it is, it's not really making too thick. Lines aren't too thick. So yeah, as you ink, I think it's important to like, especially something that is organic, just think more of like the flow rather than trying to draw any like forced or perfect lines. Just keep your mind on what it is that you're inking, and I think that and try to carry that energy through. Like if it's something that is more firm or hard or like concrete, then you would be more sharp, more angular, or you know, like say, okay, I already did brick, but okay, we'll do brick again. So it is definitely like more solid and firm and angular, and that's where your mind is. So with clouds, it's really like very free flowing. This is actually kind of fun, and the lines can be different thickness, as long as they kind of like flow together. And again, have fun, have fun. And we'll do this last section, and then we'll come back in and do. Okay, yeah, but you can add extra curves, and you can add gray in here too if you want. And you can also make a transition and do whatever you want. Okay. Okay, I'm going kind of fast here, but, and you can do this with your, oh yeah, the other thing, the tech pen. I hope it works with me. Clouds sometimes do weird wiggly things like that, so. Am I still on page, on screen? So, okay, clouds do weird wiggly things. Maybe they connect. And they fade off. Okay, so yep, a little more rough. And again, dull, old, imperfect tools that you have set aside that you've completely forgotten about, they are still useful. So the thing about the tech pen is that it does, I don't know if you can see that, but it will skip. So like that. So if you have a tech pen that you've kind of forgotten about, you can do like textures with this. Again, you know, because these are clouds, they will kind of fade in and out and see through. But also, I started these here, but you can do like rain with it. I've done this where I'll do like rain. It's like rain, and you can kind of come back and do a double kind of, because rain thickness. I've done like double, two, and it breaks up by itself, so you don't even have to do anything. So the assist is from the pencil, the pen. So you can do fun rain effect, and like I said, it mimics the old school like razor that they technique that they used to do. So fun with old dried out, more rain, more rain. Okay, so, and also I think I've done like brick texture with it too. Hey, we happen to have a brick, so we'll do like let's do brick texture. So you can go like, you know, and it kind of skips on its own, so you can just let the pen do most of the work. And there you go. So you can get a little more texture. And maybe this guy will go. Maybe there's a little hole crack in that brick. Okay. All right, so yep, little side avenue. You can dab it, make it look more like, give it extra texture. Okay, so yeah, oops, sorry. So we went down a little side avenue there. And again, you can use brush, you can use the micron, you can use your tech pen for all the line work, and you can adding to it, and you get like a different look. I don't know if you can kind of see that, but I'm going to try not to move the camera too much because I'm already kind of bouncing around too much. Okay, let's find an open area. So here we go. You can use that and just enjoy the natural texture it's going to give you. So there we go. See how it's kind of scratchy and skippy. Okay, so we'll start there. So right there we have a couple of different layers for texture. We have the solid layer, 3 layers. So solid black, we have the dry brush, we have some line work, some wavy line work, some skippy line work. So that already has multi-layers, and some whites that are left in there for your little silver lining. So there's more layers. And so right now it looks like, you know, closer to you, the clouds are a little more broken up, a little thinner, and then far away it you know, becomes a little more dense, a little thicker, so kind of blacking out. This is very moody sky. And I have my white, my FW and my Pro White mix ready. And we're going in with the, if I can find my white brush. So here we are. So I use a separate brush for my white, and I don't mix it with the black because obviously whatever, even if you clean it really well, and cleaning, I just use water to clean. So I keep it separated because no matter how well you clean it, it's still gonna remain, your white's gonna remain, the ink's gonna remain, so what you're gonna get is more gray, and you're not gonna have like a true black or true white. And this is, let's see, yep, perfect. And I always have like a bottle of water that I drip if I need to thin out my white out, or my white or my ink. Again, I just use water. I don't have any fancy solution, just water. That's as fancy as I get. Okay, so we're going in, and if you, I mean, you already have dry brush, so that already has whites in it. But if you want to go in and you want to pop out any extra, I don't know if you want to identify, or you want to pull a layer out from, you know, like more forward, or, you know, push something back to just break it up. So if you, let's say if you want to make this separate, separate from that, so you can go in and you can use that to pull that forward and or pop it forward. And there we go. So now it looks like it's on top of that. And if you want to throw in extra fancy little, like maybe a little wispy, you can do that at this point with all your, there we go. So just, you know, more silly fun stuff. And if you want to pull, like follow through in all these little lines that you started, if you want to just pull that into the darker or the solid black part, you can do that too. Just more little finer details. Okay, so that's another layer that you can do. And so next we will move on to really pulling those layers of clouds apart. And what we will go in with, where's my toothbrush? Oh, here it is. Okay, so I think I mentioned last time, if you want finer mist, when you're flicking either black or whether it's ink or your white, if you want a finer mist, use your toothbrush and thinner ink or thinner white. And when I'm working, I don't always mask. When I say I don't always mask, I pretty much hardly ever. So what I do is I'll just hold, you don't need to see my note. So I'll just hold like a Post-it note and just do that. And if you've seen my desk, it's really messy. So right now, let's see. And the less you have on your brush, the finer it will be. So for, let's see, we'll go, I'm trying to find a spot where it really shows. If you have like less on your brush, and if you hold it at a certain angle, wherever you flick, that's the direction. So if you want it more directional, you can do that. Or if you want it to go straight down, you hold it right above, like so, like totally perpendicular to the page, to the paper, and you'll get like, and you can control the amount just by, you know, practice pulling back, like, so you can do, if you just want a little bit, just go slow and gentle. If you want to go crazy, obviously just let it puppy roll. And you can see like how much finer the mist is with a toothbrush compared to using, like, you know, flicking with your brush. So we can just say, okay, just, you know, like a little light mist. We're just gonna kind of light mist on the lower part, or on the lower parts. And what I do sometimes, if I really want it, it's almost kind of like an airbrush look. So once you flick that on, I'm no longer using my guard. So yeah, hold your guard in place just to kind of minimize the amount that you're gonna get on top of the layer in front. So what you do is, like, you can use your finger, your thumb. So a lot of that will still be, those little droplets will still be wet. You can soften it, just, you know, dab, dab, dab. And if you really, like, if you really want to be adventurous, you can use your fingerprints. People do that too, to get more like little shapes in there. But you can just do that just to kind of soften it, and it will really aid in pushing this, like the lower part of this chunk of cloud behind this guy. And we're gonna come back with blacks and just kind of really pop that out too. So roughly, we're just gonna do this real quick. Oh yes. Guard a little bit. I'm gonna go fast, or semi-fast. So we're gonna do that and repeat. And it doesn't have to be uniform. In fact, you don't want it uniform. You want it a little more random. If you see more light areas or white areas, you want to assume that is going to be lighter. So maybe you can flick a little more there, and it'll give it more of a glow. And go through, and just do a little fine mist throughout. And you can play around. I think backgrounds can be kind of fun because you can play around, get experimental. Like, you can't really do this much on like a face of a superhero, but you can do this on silly, moody clouds, and you can give it more of like a mood, make it more moody. See what I mean with the fingerprint thing? So if you want to, you can just picture it in your head and just kind of like let that, you know, give you some freedom to play. And so boom, boom, maybe little chunks here, flow, soften that, chunks, you know, have little puffs here and there that kind of wander off. Okay, so let's say you don't use a guard, like I just didn't, so you can do that too. Just soften some of that up, and just to mix it up, sometimes I'll go in with, again, more crazy junky tools. So I'll just use the credit card this time. So you take, like, you want bigger chunks in there just for randomness. And I need water. There we go. So, little white in the corner. You don't have to put too much on here. I just do this so I don't have to keep dipping. But be careful, because it can form a little droplet on the bottom and drip. And even if it does that, you can just fix it, no biggie. So if you want like bigger chunks, which, there we go. Couple big chunks, just to keep it interesting. I'm going kind of messy now, but if you were in real life, you'd be a little more careful. And this is just my junky made up pencil, so I'm not really too particular. just showing you like techniques and things that you can try and play with. So we have, see, nice mix of everything, and just like we do with the stars, if you want, you can do that too, just to soften it and just maybe make it go in like a certain direction or have a certain flow. It's a little different from stars. So okay, roughly. And if you want to, now you have a little white on your brush. If you want to, you can do kind of like the reverse dry brush with the whites, since you did this with. So if you want to soften this at all, you have a little white on your brush, and you can kind of dry brush with white. And you can get messy like I'm doing right now really quickly. So, but it's also, like I said, a nice way of how many layers of textures you want. So some of these will still be wet, so you can use it to your benefit. Or if you don't want to, just be mindful of it. So you have some whites flowing through, and you have some in here, so I'm just gonna use that and make that like another, there we go. So you can just start pulling stuff. So roughly this isn't as nice as the published one page that we did, but like I said, this is just for silly demonstration. And the other tool that I had was this Pentel brush pen. I use this quite often for like just a quick touch up if I don't want to like get a brush dirty and wash it. So what I was saying about, and always again, we start from like top corner, work down, work towards right, down diagonal this way. So this way, just moving away from where the wet area is. So now, since we just kind of, you know, quickly and sloppily flicking all that white, you can come in with your, and you can do this with the dry brush or old brush or whatever you want. But these brush pens I use for like quick touch-ups if I don't want to. So you can just go in the and kind of more solidify or remove some of those little specks, and that will immediately pop this guy up in front of that. So it just looks like soft clouds behind it, going from softer to more solid. You can do that too. See, more solid. So, yep. And that way it kind of has like a gradual fade to black. And we'll do the same with this guy. If you want, keep as much as you want, or, you know, or not. And go in. And again, you can do fun stuff. You can yet add another, like more layers to it. And continue. I don't know what I did there, but it wasn't anything good. So, and if you want to, again, just kind of blur it out because you want it to kind of be gradual. So you can, it's still a little wet. So just do that. Just tap into this, let's see, little specky area. And if you feel like you put too much, just like the stars, you can just do that. And that way you still keep some of the whites, and it's not like anything solid. It's going to be more gradual, like transition. And again, we just touched the wet area. Again, so the solid here, you can keep that area, dry brush if you want to. you can just play around, see what you like, and now that you know all the technique, you can go in and reverse and backtrack as much as you like. So roughly, and okay, yeah, let's pop this guy out, and you can see how much it really kind of like pull it out in front of that mass in the back. So there you go. Dun, dun. It's just to kind of help separate something that looks so similar and is all the same, and that way it is not so flat. Give it some dimension, especially if you have, and someone had asked about what do you do with like busy page? Well, how do you approach like, you know, a busy page with a lot of details? Just think layers, work in layers as you're working. You keep that in mind. In digital, you have the layers for you, and can pull it, you know, pull it out, have it forward and work on that layer, push another layer back or hide it. But in traditional, the layers in your head until you execute it onto the page, and you can kind of see, or where you can show that to the viewer. So, okay, yeah, that's kind of rough and semi-quick, and I'm so sorry all this camera shaking, you guys, because as I'm dabbing, like my camera's mounted onto my desk, and every time I move, it moves the camera. Okay, so that's a lot right there. So if you want to, you can just, you know, you see areas where you went a little crazy, you can just, that's what I use this guy for. Again. So roughly that's kind of how I did the cloud effect for that Batman page. And I'll need to stop. This isn't going to be published, so it doesn't need to be like that great. So there you go, clouds. And like I said, you can go back in and do more like softer whites. I kind of did it quick, but you get the idea for technique stuff. So, and as always, where you start and stop, I mean, that's, you know, it's up to you. You can keep going, and you can add 10 more layers if you want to. But for the sake of time, we're going to stop. And thanks for joining me. I hope you get out there and see real clouds too. I so sound like Mr. Ross. So, okay. Thanks, guys. Thanks for joining me. And let's see, next time I'll maybe show a page and do a little more discussion. All right, thanks. Bye.